Hello, beloved You-est You listeners. I am so happy you're here. And first off, hoping that you are well and healthy and just taking beautiful care of your body, mind, and soul. And I wanted to let you know that if you have not already joined, we have a free, amazing community, the You-est You community for soul seekers. That's on Facebook. It's free. Would love to have you do a ton of meditations and sharing resources and just keep the vibes high. So hope you come on over. All right, I am excited to introduce our guest today. I'm going to share with you who's about to speak and enlighten you. So, Dr. Jane Tornatore has dedicated her career to helping people to be kinder to themselves. So important.
Right.
Her style incorporates compassion, curiosity, powerful shots, deep listening, and heartfelt optimism, along with powerful shots of playfulness. She draws from her extensive professional training and wide-ranging life experiences to help people release old patterns and unnecessary stress. A therapist, an author, and speaker based in Seattle, local and national audiences rave about her engaging workshops on perfectionism, self-compassion, improving brain health, reducing stress, and the caregiver roller coaster. Dr. Tornatore received a master's degree at the University of Illinois and a PhD at the University of Minnesota. She has authored over 20 articles and recently published a book, Everything is Perfect, Just Not Me, a roadmap to self-acceptance. I am so excited to dig in because these topics are universal.
Right.
Welcome, Dr. Jane Tornatore. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I am truly excited to be here.
We have a lot to cover here. I mean, these topics that you are talking about, speaking about, writing about, I think like, I almost want to just dive right in and talk about, you talk about self-compassion and, the idea of everything is perfect, not, perfectionism.
Right.
I guess I'm curious, before we dive into those topics, maybe just so we can get to know you a little better, is this something that you ever struggled with, or how did you get interested in these subjects? Yeah, I had a feeling. I'm like, I wonder. Do you relate? I'm just curious.
Right. Yes. I one of the reasons I love Bernay Brown is she's a shame researcher, and she just lets everybody know, like, gazillions of people, oh, and I struggle with shame still. I love her because she gives everybody, including me, permission to say, I wrote this book about, loving oneself, and my whole dealy bob in this life is to help people love themselves more. And for me, I think it's going to be a never-ending journey because there's always more to love, like always. And I came from a space of this very little tiny amount to love, like tiny, tiny, tiny. And now it just keeps getting bigger. But yeah, I wrote the book, Everything is Perfect, Just Not Me. Like, yeah, it's like I wrote the book for me. Yeah. Because I learned as a very little kid that what I thought was if I'm perfect, then everybody's going to be fine. Everybody's going to be happy. Everybody's going to be safe. Like, no problem. But, it doesn't work that way. So, yeah. So because I've struggled with self-doubt and, am I lovable? I literally, not literally, but I developed tools to help me.
Yeah.
And so I figure if they help me, who's always a pretty die-hardened case of, no, I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy. If they can help me, they can help anybody, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that we often, I really believe this, the transformation, the struggles we have and work through is what allows us to help others. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So you struggled I don't know, and especially for women, I'm sure men have this too, but this whole, am I lovable? Am I enough? I feel like not good enough. I feel like those live in the same like land. They're sisters. Would love to get into some of you said that you have tools that have helped you and that have, you've written about. Kind of want to dive in. I feel like right now we're in an interesting time of stress, uncertainty, and I know we're going to get into stress and brain health as well. But for those that are, feeling, self-doubt, feeling the, am I lovable? Like not being able to keep up. There's, if you have kids at home, if your whole life probably has changed, like dealing with
Right.
those thoughts.
I was talking with a colleague of mine, and she noticed a pattern. And as soon as she said it, I'm like, yes. She said, do you notice how everybody's core fears right now? That's how they're responding to the virus and the whole situation we're in. If your core fear is, I'm alone, nobody loves me, guess what? You're isolated. If your core fear is money, I'm going to go bankrupt. I don't know how I'm going to pay. Well, that's totally supported with this environment. If your core fear is losing people you love, well, that's happening. If your core fear is your own health, it's like this virus and the whole situation is perfectly tailored to bring up all our core fears, which is super stressful. And we also, because I like to see the opportunity, we also have the opportunity to go, okay, it's time to dig deeper. Let's get to a deeper level. For me, my fear is aloneness, right? So I'm in my apartment alone with my 2 cats. It's like, I could totally go down in the, so it's like, oh, I am alone. I have people who love me. I have people who I love.
Yeah.
Right now I'm fine. And to come to the present moment of, right now I'm fine. Even though my deepest fear is kind of coming true right now.
Yeah.
Right in this moment, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
So this is perfectly tailored. So if people are really stressed out, it's natural.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think my understanding too of how stress works is when you're in that that fight flight, if you're in that parasympathetic nervous system, if you're feeling, on edge, it's like whatever is there for you gets illuminated. I think you're spot on. I was just thinking, my mom who struggles with loneliness, she's had it's been tough for her, I believe. She's doing well, but it's been tough. And I can see some of my own stuff coming up. And I think, of course, it doesn't have to be that way, because there are ways I'm curious, would love to hear, what are some of the tools which can help, with the fears right now. And maybe it encompasses, am I lovable as well? Some of those tools too. So just share away. We want to hear what's in your toolbox.
Okay. So the first one I'm giving everybody I ever talk to is this one. And it's when I was doing some reading on polyvagal theory, which is all about, our stress, our stress systems. The book had this exercise. It is so simple, and it is the fastest way to activate our parasympathetic, the rest, digest, heal nervous system. So what you do, it's called the basic exercise. You cross your hands, and then you put them behind the round part of your head.
Okay.
And if you have got shoulder issues or arm issues, just do it without the shoulders, but this is extra helpful. So then, keeping your head straight, you move your eyes to the right until you yawn, swallow, or sigh. And for me, it happens right away because I'm constantly doing it. And then when you're done there, once again, keeping your head straight, move your eyes to the left until you yawn, swallow, or sigh. And it can take up to a minute each side.
Wow.
So just notice your breathing now. So most people, it's a little slower.
Yeah.
It's a little deeper. It instantly. And what I love is I always love to give our ego proof that things work, because any new tool to you is like, that's not gonna work, that's stupid. Like my most anxious clients will say, well, it's too simple, it won't work. And I'm like, yeah, don't let that stop you. It's about the simplest thing there is.
Yeah.
And it works. So the yawning, swallowing, or sighing is basically saying to your ego, activating the parasympathetic, activating the parasympathetic. There it is, activated right there. So it gives your ego proof, and then people always feel better.
It's amazing. I just did it. If you're watching this later, you can see it. I will explain it in the show notes as well. But I love that. I've never heard that. Do you have a name for that? Or we could just call it like...
It's called the basic exercise.
Basic. I like it. Okay.
I know, it's big. The guy who developed it he calls it the basic because he gives it to every single person who comes into his office.
I love this. I've studied so much and I've never ever heard this. This is great.
I know.
Might be Reiki a little, like the Reiki position.
It might be.
Yeah.
Well, it also does, literally what it's doing is the eye muscles are activating the ventral vagal nerve, which is the main one for activating the parasympathetic. So literally, you're doing it physiologically. And it works without the arms too. But I think the arms work because we're signaling our brain that, you know, if we're in this posture of open, your arms behind, your chest open, your neck open, that's a vulnerable posture. You're not going to do that if there's a tiger chasing you, right?
Yeah.
You're signaling,
right.
I'm totally safe here, because in this moment we are. So I think it's a double whammy of, and there might be some Reiki involved too. I don't know enough about the energy stuff to know that, but it totally makes sense.
I love it. I love even just, I'm like, I don't want to put my hands down, but
I know, right? I know.
Wow, that's really, okay, so we got the basic exercise, which is very easy, and I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What any other tools, like maybe
well,
one or two more?
You mentioned moms who are, you know, trying to school their kids, and many of them trying to work and trying to soothe themselves and their kids.
A lot.
So, I mean, this is, you know, for perfectionists, this is a built-in, like for me, it's like, I should be handling this better. I should be less stressed. I should be learning more. I need to gather all the tools so I can give to my clients. So, you know, my responsibility level is upped because I'm a recovering perfectionist. So moms especially are going through I should be able to homeschool my kids and work just as hard and now feed all the meals and keep the house clean and, right? I mean, just even saying it, I'm getting all tense and I don't even have kids, right? So one of my favorite tools I give, and it's in my book, is if I were queen of the world, I would ban should, must, have to, need, and for Midwesterners, gotta. Right? Because, you know, why I would ban them is because we all learn them. We all learned, especially perfectionists, to use those words to motivate us because we want to be better people. Like nobody's a perfectionist because they want to be a slob.
Yeah.
People are in this self-help, self-growth, perfectionist because they want to be better people.
Yeah.
Well, I know at least what I learned, and many people learned, is that if we just beat ourselves up, we'll get to be better, right? Oh, you're so stupid. How could you do that? What is wrong with you? Why did you do that?
Yeah.
We learn that if we criticize ourselves, that's supposed to make us better. It actually does the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when we use the word should, must, have to, need, we literally create more stress in our body. So can we do an example?
Yeah, I love this. And I definitely see this. I believe this to be true. I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So what's something, and I'm sure everybody listening has something they need to do or they should be doing. Like, do you have something that you need to do or you should be doing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. So if you want to share it out loud, fine. But if you want to just keep it in yourself, just say it either out loud or internally. I should, or I need to, whatever it is.
Okay.
And
I have like three of them. I had three.
Choose one. Choose one.
Okay.
And then close your eyes and say, I need to blank.
Okay.
And what do you notice in your body?
It doesn't feel good. My stomach feels funky.
Your stomach feels funky. Awesome. Great. Now open your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, instead of should, must, have to, need, I suggest several, but my two favorite are it's a good idea and it'd be helpful. Right? So choose one of those. It's a good idea or it'd be helpful. And say the same thing and close your eyes and notice what you notice.
Okay. Yeah.
And what are you noticing?
It's a much more peaceful, it feels light, much lighter.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it would be a good idea. Yeah, it would be. I mean, it's on your list for a reason, right? It's not there because you just like creating lists.
Right. Not usually.
Right. And so here's a secret to this. When it's really, really true, you say, I want to, or I'd like to, but only if it's really true. Because say, like, imagine, you know, it's tax season now. It's still tax season. So imagine, like, nobody says, oh, yeah, I love taxes. This is not about lying to ourselves.
Yes.
It's about saying what is true. So if you say, oh, I want to do my taxes,
right.
You know, most of us go, no, I don't want to. So we create that inner resistance.
Yes. Right.
Now, if it's really true, I want more self-care. Then our body just kind of goes, woo, like my heart expands when my body kind of subtly leans forward. I want to do more self-care. I do actually. It's not only a good idea. I want to. And then it like taps into our internal,
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love that. Well, it's interesting because I'm working on my next book, and I feel like it's something that I feel very, very passionate about. And I have gotten a lot of, I've taken a lot of notes over the last year. It's come to me, and I feel like I should.
Right?
And I said that, and I'm like, that does not feel good. And it doesn't, I
Right?
don't want it to come from that energy. But when I said, I really like to,
Mhm.
or I think it's a good idea. It's just, it changed the whole thing. I'm like, oh,
Right?
yeah, I do want to do that actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And the really cool thing is a lot of my tools are super simple, but they also work on the unconscious level also.
Yeah.
So when you say you should or you have to or you need to, you're basically saying, well, you should have done it already. Should's the best for this. You should have done it already. So even if you already do it, you've failed because you haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So we're automatically failing as soon as
Yeah.
we said, and our
We
whole
feel
system
right.
is,
Yeah.
you're screwing up. If we said like to or I'd want to or it's a good idea, then you put your subconscious, you've just now seeded that idea in your subconscious, and your subconscious is now looking for when you can do it or how you can do it or the next step. It's like your subconscious is doing the work for you. It's a good idea. It absolutely is. So when would be the best time? Unconsciously.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's so cool. I love that. You're giving cues to your subconscious to help support you from a place of
exactly.
support versus pushing down.
Exactly. Exactly. Versus the old beliefs we've incorporated and now they're just unconsciously driving us,
Right.
in ways that aren't helpful anymore.
Right. That's so great. These are, oh my God, that's so great. And this is called the If I Were Queen, or do you have a name for this?
I actually don't have a queen. I actually, that's a great, I don't have a name. I just basically started with, if I were queen of the world, I
Yeah,
would ban should, must, have to, need.
I love it. I'm going to call it word swap for those listening.
Word swap. Okay, awesome.
Word swap.
So
All right.
ban
Awesome.
these 4 words or 4 words that cause stress or just.
Ban these words. I like that. Okay. Awesome. No, I love practical, easy tools.
Me too.
All right. For those listening, hello. This is the point, and me included, I'm talking to myself here, is that we get all this amazing information, and it's like, let's take it and be in action and apply it, because that's when it becomes useful. So I'm going to look at this after our interview and look at, okay, what am I saying the should and the have to and the must, and just start changing it. It's as easy as that. And it's such a great
Awesome.
tool. Thank
So
you.
here's one thing that my clients frequently notice is people have no idea how often they say should, must, have to, need. They have it's constant.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful for those of, your listeners out there who do, this is how they try to motivate themselves. Try not to get disheartened because they're like, I'm saying it again. I'm saying it again. It is it again. That was like 5 times in the last minute I've said it. That's natural. And the awareness is actually a very good sign.
Yeah.
The awareness is where you can't change without the awareness. So once you're aware, it's like, yay, you noticed. Now I'll try something different. Practice, experiment, that kind of thing.
I think this is a big one too with, I must eat healthier. I should go to I should work today. I need to, and it's like, that's not empowering. It's just not.
It's not. Yeah, it's not at all.
Oh, I love this. Really great. Any other tools that come to mind? I'm sure you've got like so many, but anything else? I love giving like 2 or 3. And if not, we can go back.
So this is my, I do have so many. Which one do I want to give? Do you want one? I'll give you a choice for 2. Do you want to, I have got a different slant on the gratitude practice, or a model that really helps us decide what to worry about and what not to worry about.
Do we have time for both? I'm
yes. Well, it's gratitude one, super simple.
Okay, I'm both.
I'll do the model one first. This one is adapted from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So he had this model called the Circle of Influence and Concern, right? The influence is in the center. I renamed it because my clients were like, what's influence? What's concern? So I renamed it Circle of Power and Control. And actually, I was just talking with somebody today, and I was thinking I might rename it to Circle of Power and Victim, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say the Circle of Power, which is where we're in alignment, when our heart and our mind are in one and we're good. Here in this circle is stuff we can actually do something about. And this circle, this inside circle, is our thoughts and our behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things we actually have some semblance, and those are hard enough anyway, right? Some semblance of control over. This circle of power, our thoughts and our behaviors. The outside circle, the circle of victimhood, is this is how things should be, but they aren't, and it's driving me crazy, right? This is everything else. Other people's actions, the weather, the politics, the economy, your partner, your kids being, grouchy. Everything but our thoughts and our actions is out in this circle of control, or here's what I'd like to control, but I can't.
Right.
So anytime and I tell my clients, anytime you're feeling one of these feelings, frustrated, anxious, helpless, hopeless, stuck,
Mm-hmm.
guess where you are? You're
I love
always in that outside circle, trying to control what is actually not yours to control.
Mm-hmm.
So when you notice, oh, I'm just worried, I'm just stuck, oh, I'm overwhelmed, come back to the circle of power and go, okay, is there anything I can do about this?
Yeah.
If there's anything, try it. If you can't do it right away, if it's clearly worrying you right away, if you can do it right away, bonus points. If you can't, make a plan for when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And it may or may not work. If it works, yay! If it doesn't work, then you come back to the circle of power and go, okay, so here's what is. How do I want to be with this?
Right.
Like, we're all quarantined. How
Right.
do we choose to respond to it?
Yeah.
Do we want to yell at everybody who's not quarantining? Do we want to judge everybody for how they're going? Do we want to go, okay, so how do I soothe myself? Okay, so I'm out in the circle of control or victimhood now. How do I come back and go, okay, I'm just going to do the basic exercise. Take a deep breath. I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
We can always change. We can't always change the circumstances. We can always change how we respond. That's where our power always, always, always is.
Yeah. I love that. This
Yeah.
is a big one. I love that. And I think part of the thing, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but just doing a lot of work at looking at, what's in the heart and what's ego, which is fear.
Yes.
And to me, when you get in the land of like fear or blame or shame or even frustration, anything there, it's not bad, but it is definitely in the land of ego, which reminds me of
Yes.
in the same zone. It's like, okay, go back to your heart.
That's true. This could be heart and ego.
Yeah. I mean, just to me,
I love that.
It all works, but this
Yeah.
is it is really powerful, because when you realize, especially now, there are a lot of things that we can always get to choose. We always get to choose.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm glad you went over that. I'm really glad. I was like,
Yeah.
let's do both before, and then we'll do the gratitude.
Okay, awesome. So the gratitude, it's super simple. Everybody knows the power of gratitude, all the great neurochemicals it produces. It's just an awesome practice. So I'm a perfectionist, though, and many people do lists, like list 3 things you're grateful for. Well, because I'm a perfectionist, I go, well, that's a stupid list. Your cats are on it every single time. Can't you come up with, I'm like, I would criticize my list, right? Which took me out of gratitude. Right. I'm bored with the list. I gotta, or I gotta come up with 3 new, I just made it a chore.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do instead, because it also creates more neural pathways firing gratitude, is I literally felt grateful. Like I thought of something that I'm grateful for that always makes me grateful. I felt it. And for me, when I'm feeling grateful, I feel it in my heart. My heart just like glows and warms, and it's super awesome feeling. So I just feel grateful. Like every morning when I wake up, I feel grateful for at least 30 seconds. And 30 seconds is really enough to really kind of solidify those pathways. And then when I go to sleep at night, I also feel grateful. Now, why is morning and night are especially important? Because in the morning, you're kind of seeding your brain for the day. If you're firing gratitude, your brain's like, okay, where else is there gratitude? Oh, can I be great? And so it's unconsciously looking for things to be grateful. Once again, you're getting your unconscious to work for you. At night is when our brain sifts and sorts and puts our memories in the appropriate places in our brain, like with like. So if you go to sleep firing gratitude in your neurons, as you're sorting through the day, you're more likely to have gratitude with the memories as they're being sorted and implanted in your long-term memory.
Oh, wow.
So you literally will be more grateful for your day as your memories are kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not implanted, but
yeah, filed maybe.
Filed into your brain. Yes, thank you.
That's great. Oh, that's really, I love how you said that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I've also found, even not always sure about the dream state, but when I wake up, there's like a similar carryover. There's this carryover feeling, it's kind of a good hangover.
Right, I know.
Gratitude hangover.
Yeah. So for perfectionists, feeling it is much easier than the list.
I love that. I actually had no idea, but when you said it that way, I'm like, oh gosh, I am definitely in the perfectionist category then, because I do the same thing where I'm like, checking the list, and I'm like, this is not fun.
I know.
So that's actually, for those of us who are in recovery from, I think of it as overachieving as well. Like the overachiever probably is in the same community as perfectionist. Probably, a lot of need for healing. Jane, this is so fun. I love all the tools. Before we start to wrap up, I would love to ask about, I know you do quite a bit around brain health, and I just thought, is there anything that we can do or know about right now to improve brain health, or just to stay in a space of, making sure we're minding our mind, especially in this pandemic where there's, I think, a lot being thrown at us. Just curious. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, you're right, because the stress literally shuts down our brain.
Right.
Like we've got when we're under stress, the amygdala is the only part running the show. So when we do stuff to calm ourselves down, when we do stuff like the basic exercise, when we do stuff like one of my favorite came from Tara Brach. She just puts her hand on her heart. And when we're stressed, just say, I'm suffering. And it automatic, first of all, it feels wonderful to have our hands on our heart. And I think it taps into that, heart area. And it's just like, I'm suffering and I'm okay. I'm human. Of course I'm suffering. It's like Liz Gilbert did a beautiful interview, that TED guy. Did you see that interview?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you're struggling. It's okay. Give yourself a blanket of mercy. That is the most beautiful image, I think. Give yourself a blanket of mercy. And one of the things I frequently do is, I don't even do I'm suffering. If I'm just like stressed, I'm like, I'm okay in this moment. I'm okay. And it brings your brain on board. Curiosity is another way that brings more of your brain on board. If you can just say, well, what's this feel like? I'm super stressed right now. What's my body feel like? Because we can't be, I haven't figured out how to do this. I can't be judgmental or critical and curious at the same time. Like I literally, those two parts of my brain seem to be completely separate. So if you can ever find anything to be curious about, it literally brings your brain more on board. And when our brain's more on board, we make smarter decisions. And it enables our heart to have a part in it versus just our ego.
I love that. It's funny. I just, having studied coaching and then the whole world of appreciative inquiry, which is about asking these open-ended, curious questions. It's so interesting. I think I never really put that together, but it's true. You cannot be in judgment and curiosity. And that has helped, that's helped me a lot. And I never could, just the way you said it, I'm like, oh, and so everyone, just as we're talking, if you're listening and you're like, God, I mean, I've looked at where I can judge. I judge myself.
I know, me too.
Not the best, but don't judge yourself judging. That's the thing. You can't judge yourself.
Right? That's often where we can start. Sometimes I'm working with my clients and I'm like, okay, so you're judging yourself and you're judging. Start with forgiving yourself for judging your judging. Like start there.
Exactly. And get curious.
Yes, exactly.
Saying, where is that? Where do I feel that? And I wonder why that might be happening. Yeah, that is so, I love that. That is such a great reminder. Is there this is so fun. I mean, you're just
I'm having a great time.
All of energy and knowledge and ideas and tools. It's great. I love it. Any wisdom or anything else that you wanted to share that you thought might be helpful in anything we've discussed, or, wild card, you just got a intuitive thought that's coming to mind?
My motto is love yourself now. You don't have to wait.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So, we can love ourselves during a pandemic. We can love ourselves as we're falling apart. We can love ourselves as we're grieving. We can love ourselves as perfectly imperfect human beings.
Yeah.
So, you know, we aren't going to be better once we get out of the pandemic. We aren't.
Yeah.
We're going to be ourselves. So, you know, we can love ourselves as we're going, and every act of self-care. Oh, this is what I want to say. Every act of self-care is an act of self-love. We don't have to love ourselves in order to give ourselves self-care. The self-care actually is the building blocks to self-love.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to deserve it before we do it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Lastly, because I'm just curious, I love to ask this question, is what does the Youest You mean to you? And maybe how do you feel you're living your Youest You as your Youest You in life?
Right. Youest You, and I love that name. Youest You for me means allowing me to be human, because, you know, I grew up believing I should be a perfectionist. And when I can, like, actually embrace my faults, embrace my habits that are not helpful, and go, yes, I'm doing them. Yes, there's no longer any pain from them. And I literally have more choice over whether to continue those old habits that aren't helpful. Beating myself up for them doesn't help. So for me, Youest You is allowing all my humanness, my frailty and my beauty and my joy and courage and fear, and just being with me as I'm being human in very human responses. So I think that's, and for me, I'm on a mission to help people allow themselves to be human.
Gorgeous. Well, we need that.
Right? We don't need it, but it sure is helpful.
We need to helping humans to be human with compassion, with
Right.
exactly what you talked about. I love it with love. Oh my gosh. I love that. And I love what you said before, the love yourself now, you don't have to wait. That's a beautiful.
Yeah. Isn't that great? That's for me. That's for me.
I love it. Well, we teach whatever we need for ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh. I thank you so much, Jane, for being here today.
Julie, thank you.
Yeah, what a gift. And we will have everything in the show notes, and just appreciate your generosity of wisdom and time and spirit. It's really been fantastic to have you.
It's been an honor. Thank you.